Good evening, I'm Bo Williams, and welcome to the 7. Let's get a look at the big 7 stories right now. Topping the list for us tonight, wildfire season and a stretch of dry days. East Tennessee firefighters tonight spreading words of caution. Now, that might seem strange with spring flowers blooming and grass growing, but this is a time of year when the danger is something to remember, and the conditions are right with very low humidity levels. And despite a storm system moving into our area tomorrow, the Sevier County Fire and Rescue Squad decided to not issue any burn permits today to help mitigate the possible start of a fire.
It's a form of risk management, and whenever you have those elevated risk for those fires, it's important to take those measures. All of us to take those measures, and just exercise due regard and caution. We're not in a drought situation or anything like that right now, but these fuels are still flashy.
A bigger response if a fire does happen to start in the area. That way they can get it contained and out quickly. Now, the danger also reminds us of March 2022 and the Hatcher Mountain Fire in the Wares Valley area. To get ready for the season, last month, the Tennessee Department of Agriculture and Division of Forestry began taking proactive measures to confront the threat head on. They hosted a huge wildland fire academy, and nearly 600 fire crews from Tennessee and 29 other states, Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico all attended.
We get together and we do some training. We talk about the upcoming season. We have some briefings. So it just gets our teams ready for the coming season. Yeah, a lot of it's just getting to know each other as a team. We have a lot of team building type exercises. We have information. So when we get the call to go out, and it could be anywhere in the country, essentially.
State Forestry Department has already sent one team out this year to the Texas Panhandle for the recent fires there. The teams rotate and they have to be ready to roll within 24 hours when called. Our next big story for you tonight, compounding the fire risk, a case of suspected arson. Fire crews blaming a group of teens and saying it touched off a brush fire during this risky time. CSX, the train company, called it in yesterday after a conductor apparently saw some juveniles starting the fire on a pile of cross ties. Now, the ties used to space the tracks were all brand new to be used for upcoming repairs. The fire ended up spreading into the tree line, burning approximately 2.5 acres. Several local fire crews were able to keep it under control until forestry crews brought in bulldozers to create a fire line. We are told an arson investigation with CSX is coming to assess the area and start an investigation. Now, join us tonight at 11 o'clock as the first responders who handled yesterday's fire talk about the danger of these conditions and how they're keeping watch. In the meantime, though, we do want to get a look at the prospect of some rain. Meteorologist Margot Alschuler over in the Storm Center. Hey, Margot.
Hey, Bo. Yeah, we are looking at the prospect of some rain. While it did not happen today, we did see beautiful conditions all day. Temperatures even warmed towards the low 80s. We're right now sitting still pretty warm in the upper to mid 70s, 76 here in Knoxville, 77 in Maryville, 77 in Gatlinburg, 74 in Crossville, and 73 in Oneida. Your forecast snapshot for tomorrow does encase that rain that we're talking about. We're looking at storms moving in overnight going into early tomorrow morning, and they do pose a threat at severe weather for the first time of the season. Now, the SPC Storm Prediction Center has put the Plateau and the Southern Valley under a 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather going into tonight into early tomorrow morning, and we see that risk shift a little bit as we head towards mid-morning tomorrow. So we're going to keep you updated. It's good right now, though, to have your weather notifications turned on before you head to bed, just so you know when severe weather is in your area. Again, rain and storms return tomorrow. Isolated severe risk with these storms, but after all of this, much cooler conditions next week. I'll have all the details on timing and what we're expecting coming up. Bo.
All right, Margot, thank you. Our next Big 7 story, another challenge from Mother Nature. Trees blossoming with fluffy white flowers. They don't seem threatening, but they actually pack a wallop to allergy sufferers and beyond. We're talking about the notorious Bradford Pear. Today, we checked with a Knoxville greenhouse and found out that the Bradford's bad reputation goes way beyond a bad smell and some extra sniffles. Stanley's greenhouse will not sell Bradford pears. They even discourage planting them. The manager calls them an invasive species as a threat to the state's native ecosystem and just a threat, period.
The trees, I mean, you'll notice if you look at them, they kind of they don't branch out and support each other as much as others. And so they just tend to crack. The odds of it falling on your house, your car, your child, anything, or you just having to clean up after a storm are going to be much higher than any other tree that we have around here. They choke out native species in the landscape. They choke out any other species in the landscapes. And you think of kudzu, right? Like, those are problems.
And watch out, Bradford Pears, you've really got an enemy there in Abby Stanley Gerald's. She did not hold back on advice for, well, if you want to get rid of the trees.
The cheapest way, chainsaw, get someone that can use one, cut that thing down, and you can paint the stump with a brush killer. That should do the trick.
There you go. That's one way to do it. Stanley's Greenhouse also tells us there are plenty of tree services, as you well know, that you can call to get larger trees removed from your yard. Elsewhere, a handful of states are now actually moving toward banning people from planting Bradford pears. Ohio was the first to ban the tree last year, and South Carolina has banned them effective this October. Our next big story for you, new information on the potential end to a clash over a hospital. You know, as we've told you, the Blount County Commission is set to vote next week on a resolution that would create a management plan for Blount Memorial Hospital. The resolution comes after continuous debate over who should be in charge. Well, a judge ordered Blount Memorial and county leaders to enter mediation in March of last year. However, no settlement was reached. The proposed resolution would create the hospital's first ever management plan. There are two other resolutions regarding the hospital also on the agenda. Blount County Commissioner Nick Bright hopes they can, though, pass all three.
One, they amicably end the litigation between Blount Memorial and the county. Two, they put a consulting firm in place. And three, finalize the sale of Morning View Transitional Care Facility. Once these resolutions are passed, that should give the county the ability to, or the hospital, the ability to move forward in a positive light.
We reached out to the hospital's interim CEO, Jonathan Smith, who said in a statement, quote, "We have been working in good faith with Blount County government to discuss and make progress on this item." Well, two separate shootings by East Tennessee law enforcement officers in the same county making our Big 7 list for you tonight. The first of those shootings happening back in January. We're learning now that the officer in that case will not face charges. The TBI says this happened on January 28th along Rugby Avenue in Jamestown. We're told someone called 911 reporting a man with a gun threatening to kill another man. When officers arrived, Jamestown police say that they found an armed person who pointed a gun at an officer. An officer fired, hitting them. District Attorney Jared Effler telling us the officer's actions were totally justified. The person shot was originally taken to the hospital, then to jail. We're told no officers were injured in the incident. And just into the newsroom, we're learning the name of a person killed in a shooting by a Jamestown police officer last night. Raul Portugal, the TBI releasing that name in the last hour. Now, when officers arrived, they apparently found a man armed with a machete who refused to listen to commands. Officers used a taser, but we're told it was not effective. So at some point during the confrontation, an officer fired his service weapon, hitting the suspect. Now, the suspect was taken to an area hospital where he was pronounced dead. No officers were injured. The TBI is still investigating what led up to the shooting, and we'll be turning over those details to the District Attorney General for review. And new information on one of the crashes from yesterday that we told you about along I-81 in Greene County. Tennessee Highway Patrol now confirming that someone died in the wreck. It happened on the southbound side of 81 near mile marker 21. That is just east of Bulls Gap. Last night at 11, we showed you some of these pictures sent by a viewer of that first crash scene. And as you can see, the crash sent tires, debris flying across the roadway. THP not yet releasing any information on the person killed. We're told there is an investigation, though, that is ongoing right now. That's in the early stages, but we will keep you posted.